Football season is still in full swing, but the Notre Dame men's basketball season officially tips off on Wednesday night in what will be a pivotal season for Micah Shrewsbury as he hopes to bring this program back into the NCAA tournament. The official season preview is next.
You are Locked On Irish, your daily podcast on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome into another edition of Locked On Irish, your daily Notre Dame podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wojciak. I'm a Notre Dame alum and producer at Fox Sports, and I'm thrilled to have you here on this Monday, November 4th, and thanks for getting your week started right here by making this your first listen of the day. This show is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, and you can watch the full thing on YouTube as well. Just remember to please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you are watching along on YouTube, or if you're listening to the podcast, please take a quick second, rate the show 5 stars, leave a review, and subscribe on your preferred platform. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, Notre Dame just wrapped up its second bye week of the football season, but before we turn the page to the Florida State game on Saturday, I wanted to do a full preview of the men's basketball season, which officially tips off this Wednesday night. It is a big year for the men's hoops team. There are plenty of reasons to be excited about how much this team can improve after the nice finish they had in last season, and who better to get us ready for year 2 under Micah Shrewsbury than our great friend of the program, men's basketball beat writer Tom Noie. Tom and I actually had the chance to catch up at the end of last week following Notre Dame's exhibition game against Purdue-Fort Wayne. So when we talk about last night or the exhibition game that happened previously, that is because we did it at the end of last week, even though I'm releasing it onto Monday. So just wanted to let you know in advance so you're not confused and thought, wait, did I miss an exhibition game that happened last night? Nope, it was just the one from last Wednesday. It was a great time talking to Tom. Here he is. All right, I'm joined once again by Notre Dame men's basketball beat writer Tom Noie from the South Bend Tribune. And Tom, even though the Irish don't officially kick off the 2024-25 season until Wednesday against Stonehill, we got our first look at this team in an exhibition game against Purdue-Fort Wayne, and the Irish cruised to a 91-54 win. And I know it doesn't count in the actual win-loss record, but there was plenty to like from that game. So what did you make of that first impression?
The fact that they scored 91 points and hit Purdue-Fort Wayne with 51 in the second half. Like you said, there's a lot to like. And the fact that full transparency, I'll start right there. I expected Notre Dame to lose that game last night because of the following. Purdue-Fort Wayne was picked to win the Horizon League. So they were picked in preseason to win the Horizon League, and both their starting guards from last year's team that return are both first team all Horizon League preseason guys. Now rewind back to last year when Notre Dame hosted Western Carolina, and everyone's like, who the hell is Western Carolina? Okay, Western Carolina was picked to win their league, and they had 2 starting guards who were all league guys. And what happened? They beat Notre Dame. So I'm thinking they've got veteran guys. They've got 2 really good all-conference players. They're playing at home. Notre Dame could get a little wacky going on the road. Like, they were 2-10 away from home last year. And you still didn't know how the pieces were all going to fit. So I'm like, it's not going to surprise me if Notre Dame loses this game. It did stun me that Notre Dame got off to a 22-4 start in the first basically 7 minutes. And by then the game's over. So there was a lot to see. There was a lot to like. And there's a long way to go still for this Notre Dame men's basketball team. But to just start it like that and pull back the curtain and say, this is what we could look like, positives almost all the way around.
Yeah, and I think it's easy for people on the outside to just see it's an exhibition game against a team like Purdue-Fort Wayne, which I don't think everyone is probably familiar with. But they finished 23-13 last year and 11-9 in the Horizon League. So this is legitimate competition that Notre Dame went up against. And you're right, they dominated. And now that Micah Shrewsbury is no longer the new guy, he's had a full offseason to get this team ready for the upcoming season. What is the biggest difference that you've noticed in the way that he has prepared this team going into year 2?
It's all about offense, baby. Last year, it was grind. We're going to muck up the game. We're going to play it in the mud. And if we have to win a game by scoring 60, sometimes 50 points, That was what they were going to do because that was the skill set. That was the talent level of what last year's team was all about. They weren't going to go out and score 70, 80, 90 points like so many old Mike Brey teams used to do in the ACC and just be like, we're going to hang 80 on the board because at the end of the day, not a lot of teams can do that. Notre Dame could not do that last year, so they had to grind it. They had to play slow, tempo, defense, rebound, gang rebound, run very rarely. I don't know how many times we were sitting behind the Notre Dame bench last night at Allen County Coliseum, and I don't know how many times Micah Shrewsbury turned to his staff or yelled out to the guys as they're changing ends, pace, pace, pace. This year, it's all about pace. For the first 2 or 3 times that we talked to Micah Shrewsbury in the summertime and in the fall, he never. Once we would ask him, we'd ask him something about defense because they were such a solid defensive team last year. He'd admit he'd be like, "Yeah, we haven't worked anything on defense yet," and that's okay. He's like, "That's okay." Like going into the 4-2 tour, the 3 games that they had in Spain in August, he's like, we haven't talked at all about defense, and we're going to see a lot of things over there that we have not prepared for, and that's fine because he said this team is going to score. We're going to play with a faster tempo. Ever since the spring, ever since last year ended at 13-20, they've been playing with a 24-second shot clock because they want to play faster. They want to get it up and down the floor. They want to play just with not necessarily Micah Shrewsbury calling every single set on every single possession from the bench, like go and flow and be basketball players. And for stretches, especially that stretch to start, we saw that. And it was good to see because they talk about playing fast. Okay. How many times have we seen a Notre Dame team say, we want to play fast, and then they play an exhibition game and get to 62 points or they score 68 points? For them to say that they want to play fast, but believe they can still play better than what they played last night and still score 91 points, that's a very encouraging sign.
Personally, I'm super excited about that because I understand the importance of defense and that being a good defensive team is necessary if you want to go far. But just as a fan of basketball, I enjoy offensive basketball a lot more. And I think when you watch what Notre Dame did in that exhibition game, it was a little bit more reminiscent of the Micah Shrewsbury Penn State teams, because I remember when his name started being mentioned as a potential candidate for the Notre Dame job, I watched Penn State, and my first thought was, wow, this team plays fast, and they gun threes. Like, they led the Big Ten, I think, in every metric when it came to three-point shooting. And I don't think Notre Dame is there yet, but I think they're on their way. So where do you think we are going to see the biggest change with so much of an emphasis put on the offense? Is it just going to be the style of player? Or do you think that individual skill sets are going to change drastically, or maybe it's all of the above?
It's all of the above. It's like like everybody wants to talk about, well, this is who Micah Shrewsbury is. This is what he wants to do. We're in year 2, and I think I've wrote it in a column or on one of my chats. If the book on Micah Shrewsbury is 214 pages long, say, just pick some random number. Say the book on Micah Shrewsbury is 275 pages. We're on like page 6 because last year you couldn't take much of anything away of what Micah Shrewsbury was going to be like as the coach at Notre Dame based off of last year, because last year was just about freaking survival. Like, he gets here and there's three guys on scholarship when he takes the job, and he's scrambling to get a staff, and he's trying to do this and he's trying to do that. So last year it was just like, can we get a team together and be somewhat competitive in the league? Now that they did that and they start tailoring the roster to the way he wants to play, we're going to see a little more of who Micah Shrewsbury is as a coach, what Notre Dame is as a program this year. Whether it's not going to be we want to just outscore people. They want to sprinkle in the defensive principles that they learned last year, that they leaned on last year, and carry that over to this year. And now this year, add the offense and add guys that can do different things other than just give the ball to Marcus Burton and say, you know what, bail us out tonight. So it's across the board. It's style of play. It's how guys can play. Like watching last night, I don't want to get too deep into what we saw last night, but to see Marcus Burton initiating offense, then Matt Allocco initiating offense. Look, Tay Davis can do it for a couple of, and then like Sir Muhammad was an absolute revelation last night, because we had not seen Sir Muhammad do anything but individual skill work, and really not much of that since he got here in June. So it's different guys in different positions doing different things. That's really intriguing about what this season holds for Notre Dame.
Tom will be right back here with us in a second to break down the most important benchmarks for a successful season. But first, I wanted to let you know that our friends over at 5 Hour Energy know that being a passionate football fan isn't just a hobby, it's a way of life. It takes a lot of energy to power through all-day tailgates, touchdown celebrations, or an agonizing second overtime, which is why they have created the Stand the Fan, a 5 Hour Energy Shot with a special flavor called Fan Fuel, the energy shot made just for super fans like us, the fans who are first in the parking lot and who are last to leave. We see you. You know what else gave me a bit of Notre Dame fan fuel lately? The moment when Jeremiah Love broke free for a 64-yard touchdown run to give the Irish a 2-score lead against Navy. And 5 Hour Energy knows that no matter what team you root for, being a fan requires heart, soul, and a whole lot of energy. Whether you're prepping for the big tailgate or ironing your jersey, your game day to-do list is always a mile long. That's why the limited edition Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot is here to help keep you fueled throughout the season. What's your fan fuel this week? Whatever it is, do it with a 5 Hour Energy, available on 5hourenergy.com, shipped nationwide. You said it. Last season was basically about survival, even though I know Micah Shrewsbury was saying we want to get to the tournament before the year, but they finished 13-20 overall, 7-13 in the ACC. Obviously, you would like to see that record improve and get closer to the 500 mark this year, but what are some other benchmarks for a successful season in year 2 under Micah Shrewsbury?
It starts, as far as records and as far as what you look at, you've got to be better at home. And I'm writing about this next week in part of my predictions. Like, make Purcell Pavilion a tough place to play again. Because going 9-8 overall and 5-5 in the league, that's not going to get you anywhere. If you have dreams of playing in the NCAA tournament, if you have dreams of being a top 4, 5, 6 program in an 18-team league like the ACC currently is, you can't be 5-5 in league play at home. You can't be 9-8. You have to make that place a tough place to play the way it was a decade and a half ago when they were running off 45 consecutive home wins. That was the longest home streak in the country. I don't know if people realize that. Just think about that for a second. Notre Dame men's basketball won more consecutive games at home over a 3+ year period than they did at Kansas or Kentucky or Duke, or name a school that's tough to play in. Notre Dame had that record. They can do that again if they can cut out all the nonsense that you get when you go to a home game where it's, hey, let's do this and let's do these shenanigans. Throw the band together, let the band play, let the students let them rile up the students. However, they have to figure it out. Somebody smarter than me and above my pay grade has to figure out how we can make Purcell Pavilion more of a basketball-friendly, basketball-crazy atmosphere, and not the circus that it currently has been the last couple of years. So it starts at home. It starts with not only being better at home, and on the flip side, be better on the road. Like we've talked about it. I wrote about it heading into the Fort Wayne game. This program was 2-10 on the away from home last year. Their 2 wins were in overtime against Georgia Tech and at Louisville, where there were close friends and relatives in the 21,000-seat Yum Center that night. Like, the 5 of us could have given that Louisville team a better game. You, me, and 3 other guys off the street could have given Notre Dame a better game than what Louisville did that night. So be better at home, be better on the road, and then go and steal a couple of – this is the year where Notre Dame men's basketball has to win games that they're not supposed to win. North Carolina at home. Wake Forest on the road, games like that Mike Brey was so good at to where when Mike Brey was here, you kind of sat back and said, whoa, they beat Connecticut in stores. They beat Syracuse in the Dome. They beat Duke at Cameron. They beat NC State in Raleigh. It's games like that you could look at and say, all right, that's going to be the next step of where the progression of this basketball program can go.
And I've seen Purcell Pavilion get really rowdy. I mean, you and I have talked about this before. I was a student during the peak of the Bray run when they were rattling off Elite Eight visits and things like that. And that place can get really loud. And I think, it's like chicken and the egg, right? Like if Notre Dame starts winning a lot of home games, the students are going to pack the place. I can't talk about the circus that's been going on the past 2 years because I have not been able to get back for a men's basketball game. So
you haven't missed anything.
We'll table the sideshow for another time because I do want to talk about Marcus Burton. He was electric last season, averaged 17.5 points per game, won the ACC Rookie of the Year award. He only shot 30% from three, though, so you would like to see that number go up, and he needs to cut down on his turnovers because he averaged 3.7 a game last year, and he had a lot in the exhibition as well. But how much do you think he's going to improve from year one to year two now that he doesn't have to do so much on offense?
You can already see it. You can see it in the way he plays. You can hear it the way he talks, to where he was so overwhelmed by February and March last year with just the constant pressure and expectation of, I've got to play 35 minutes. I've got to lead the team in scoring. I've got to lead the team in assists. I've got to lead the team in minutes. I've got to lead the team in steals. Just got to lead the team in basically everything. He doesn't have to do that this year, and he can be a better player because of it. Now, we say all that and say he's got better pieces around him. He's got more parts. There are more pieces. There's this, there's that. And he has 6 turnovers last night. He was not good with the ball. And if you're not good with the ball against Purdue Fort Wayne, what are you going to be like with the ball when you play the Houstons and the Alabamas and the Rutgers and everybody else on the non-conference that you have coming on the non-conference schedule before you get into league play? So I think last night was almost like a carryover in some ways to last season, to where it was like, okay, I've got to do this and I've got to do this. Where if he goes back and looks at the film, Micah Shrewsbury and his staff will be like, Marcus, you don't have to make that extra dribble in the lane when everybody's trying to reach for the ball and get it from you, because they were swarming Marcus Burton. Every time he got the ball anywhere close to the lane, he had 2 or 3 defenders coming at him and just wasn't able to kick it out. So it's something where just keep it simple. And if he can keep it simple, this team just gets so exponentially better than what they were last season, and even what they were last night. Like, there were times last night, this is where Marcus Burton has gotten to, Tyler, where post game, some of the players were asked about it. Micah was asked about it. I did not specifically go this questioning route, saying Marcus Burton had a bad game. This is a bad game for Marcus Burton. 18 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds in 7-11 from the field, 3 or 4 from the foul line in 25 minutes. Like, that's the bar that has been set for Marcus Burton, where people would consider that kind of an off game. Other than the turnovers, it could be a quintessential Marcus Burton box score.
Right, and I think a big piece in helping Marcus Burton not feel so much pressure with the ball in his hands is Matt Allocco. He's the transfer from Princeton, and he is somebody that you raved about the last time I had you on. He finished with a modest 6 points and 4 assists in the exhibition, but he was initiating the offense a lot, and he provided a much-needed veteran presence on the court. So how would you describe the impact that he is going to have on this team and really this program in his one and only year?
It's almost like Ben Hansborough. Like Mike Bray used to say, Ben Hansborough's energy could light a building up or he could burn it down. And I think Matt Allocco's the same. He's the same way. Like, he'll get after some guys, and he's gotten after some guys. Like, he told me a story early in preseason. I think he said it was either the second or third practice where guys were kind of quiet. It was just kind of like they're going through the motions and everything, and something happened. Maybe it was a loose ball or a fight for a rebound, and a couple of guys got into it, and a couple of guys were shoving each other, and more guys got involved. And he said, we went to the locker room afterward, and we're talking about, how things got kind of heated. And he goes, I kind of like that. And the guys all said to me, we didn't really have any of that last year. And just having Matt Allocco's presence, like, he may not give you 18 a game like a Marcus Burton or Braden Shrewsbury. Like last night, he had 4. I would have liked to see him scored a little bit more, but just his presence, he knows how to heat guys up, and he knows how to be the calming presence out there. I just think that just having him do that in the 23 minutes that he played. He played 23 minutes and he finished with a plus 22 plus minus rating. So he does things that aren't going to show up in the box score, but they are going to show up in the win column.
Of the starters who have been around, like Tay Davis, Braden Shrewsbury, Kebajai, and for the sake of this discussion, we will include J.R. Knesny as well. Who do you think is going to take the biggest step forward this year?
Who do you think that will take it or should take it?
Let's say
loaded question.
Loaded question, I would say. Let's do will first and then should.
Will, I'm gonna go with what Braden Shrewsbury did last night. I loved his game.
He was great.
He's not forcing the threes. I loved how when he was run off the 3-point line, he was able to add that little floater. I saw it in the open practice last month at Purcell Pavilion. I saw it again last night in Fort Wayne, where he's not just gonna hunt the 3-point shot. And I think he's better at being able to play off a guy like Matt Allocco, even Sir Muhammad, who found him a couple of times, and Marcus Burton, of finding different spots on the floor where he can move when they're penetrating or when they're dribbling with the ball. Braden Shrewsbury's like, okay, if they're going over here, then I'm going to go set up over there, or I'm going to reposition and set up here. And he was able to get a lot of good looks. Like everybody talks about, and rightfully so, everybody talks about what a great season that Marcus Burton had, but such a great season that he had, I think, overshadowed the improvement and the solid year that Braden Shrewsbury had, to the point where he was their second leading double-figure scorer behind Burton. And had it not been for Marcus Burton, he may have been able to seriously consider earning a spot on the all-freshman team.
Right, and with Shrewsbury, too, last year, it finished great, but he had a really rough start. People were like, why is he even in the lineup? And then there was that Georgia Tech game where he really got hot. And basically from that point on, he ended up having a really, really good year. Okay, so that's the will. Now, who should take the biggest leap?
It's got to be Kebajai, especially what we saw last night. Nikita Konstantinovsky is out with an ankle. Had it been a regular season game, Nikita would have played. Micah Shrewsbury is like, he rolled it against Xavier in the secret scrimmage. No reason to push it. Let's just keep him there. So this is Kebajai's moment. Like they're not running big after big after big against him with Purdue Fort Wayne. But this is his moment to establish whatever we haven't seen in the closed practices, whether or not Konstantinovsky's pushing him for a starting spot or not. This was Keba's night to say, I'm improved from last year. I need to do more than last year. I've worked on my game since last year. And then I go pick up 2 fouls in 3 minutes in the first half. He picks up 2 more fouls in like 2.5 minutes in the second half. And then he goes back in and fouls out within like 18 seconds and winds up fouling out playing, 7 minutes? So this is going to be a perimeter-heavy team, but you just wish there was something in the post to where you can count on X amount of points and X amount of rebounds every single night. Now they'll eventually get there with either Jai or Konstantinovsky, but to have Keba, after what happened last year and what didn't happen for him last year, to return from that and pick up 2 fouls and basically the rotation's thrown into a jumble almost off the bat. Like I was expecting a little bit more from Keba and we didn't see it. And now we're going to have to see it when everything starts for real next week.
It was definitely disappointing, especially when you consider the increased pressure on him now that Kerry Booth is out the door. Like Notre Dame needs more big men down low doing some things. And Kebajai, like when he transferred over, it was like, okay, he's got all this raw athleticism. If he could just put it together, and it doesn't look like he's been able to do that just yet. But everyone is excited to watch the true freshman, Sir Muhammad. I thought he looked a little rusty, which isn't a surprise because he's been dealing with an injury. Like you said, you haven't been able to see much of him at all this summer. He wasn't able to participate in the games as well. So there's that aspect, but he's got so much potential. So what are your expectations for him in his freshman season?
If he can come in and do what he did last night, it stunned me that he was the 6th man and was the first off the bench yesterday, because I'm figuring Micah Shrewsbury may go with Burke Shebahar. He might go with Julian Roper as a defensive stopper. First substitution, Micah turns around and points to Sir and says, go get so-and-so. Go get, I forget who he came in for. Maybe Tay Davis. But if he can just kind of come in and learn the role of what it's like to be a major Division I point guard, it's going to benefit him so much as they move forward in this, however long Marcus Burton stays. Like all the pressure that was on Marcus Burton last year to do this and to do that and to do everything. There's no pressure on Sir Muhammad. Like you can just go out there and play. Like you've got old guys in Burton and Allocco and Shrewsbury, and you've got a veteran guy behind you in Logan Imes that can come be a steadying presence if you need it. He can just go play, and there's just you can see how well he's been coached and how high his IQ is, because he sees something, he deciphers it right away, and he's like, all right, if I get the ball, I'm going to do this, this, and this. Move the ball to this guy, layup. I'm going to do this, this, and that. Move the guy to the corner, 3-point shot. So there's just so much that's there from Sir Muhammad to work with, where you finally saw it last night. We didn't see it at all in the summer. We didn't see it all in the fall, to where you're like, now I can see why that guy was such a coveted recruit.
Other than Sir Muhammad, which freshmen do you think are going to be the biggest contributors this season?
I think that's it. I think if everything stays healthy, now that doesn't mean that Garrett Sundra's you flush Garrett Sundra or you flush Cole Serta. Cole was the last guy off the bench, and the only reason he came off the bench was it was garbage minutes. Now maybe that was the plan going in. Maybe Micah went to him and said, "Look, I've got this guy, I've got that guy, I want to see this, I want to see that. Cole, we may not get to you tonight to where you're only going to play 5 minutes, but we'll come back to you. We're going to need you." And I think those are going to be the roles of Garrett Sundra and Cole Serta, where they're in the rotation, but they're kind of sort of not really in the rotation, if that makes any sense. Like they'll be able to, and Logan Imes is the same way, where they'll be available and if they're called on, they'll contribute. I love Cole Serta because he was the last scholarship guy in, but the minute he came in, he knocked down a couple threes. Like he wasn't in his own head about, man, I'm not getting any minutes. I'm not getting any shots. Oh, I'm coming in. What am I going to do? I'm going to have to force something. He just played within himself, just did what they need him to do in the offense, and knocked down a couple of shots. Same with Garrett Sundra. With Konstantinovsky's out, Sundra moves up in the rotation. It didn't really faze him. He can just kind of play and not have to be the main big or a dominant big. And he wasn't like that when he played in high school. He's just kind of a guy that kind of makes everything run a lot more smoother when he's in the lineup.
The Irish have a pretty interesting non-conference schedule. They go on the road to face Georgetown, and then they're going to face off against Rutgers and fourth-ranked Houston and potentially even Alabama in the Players Era Festival in Las Vegas at the end of November. How do you predict they'll navigate those waters before conference play?
And then not only do they have the 3 games in Vegas, they'll fly home either late Saturday or early Sunday from Vegas in late November. Then they have to turn right around and go back on the road and play at Georgia. So I think it's gonna be a little rough early. That Georgetown game, that's a gettable game. I don't know. Alabama and Houston, you just kind of wing it and say, let's see. Maybe
Rutgers is ranked 2.
Yeah, Rutgers. It's Rutgers, Houston, maybe Alabama. Rutgers, I think, if Notre Dame really plays to its potential, could give Rutgers a game, because Rutgers will be like Notre Dame. It's so early in the season that they're still trying to figure it out with the talented NBA level guards that they have, and maybe not all the pieces are there, and maybe it's not flowing the way it's going to flow in January and February, where Notre Dame can maybe sneak up and steal a game in Vegas. But either way, Notre Dame is going to be so much better with how they're going to have to travel, where they're going to play, who they're going to play, and when they're going to play them. They'll be so much better in January and February because of it. Whereas last year at this time, we saw the tough early season schedule where they're going to South Carolina, and then they have to go to Marquette, and they bring Georgetown in here, and you're thinking, and they played a veteran Western Carolina team that we talked about, and we never knew about the Citadel and what they had. We saw those games where this team is just going to be ground down by the end of January and February, because they're just not going to realize what it takes to make it through a season. This is going to be a totally opposite team, to where they'll be better late because of what they have to experience early.
What games are you most looking forward to in ACC play?
All of them. North Carolina, of course.
Yeah, North Carolina. And then they got Duke the next Saturday.
Duke the next Saturday, a noon start. I love Saturday noon starts at Cameron Indoor Stadium, which means I could actually maybe even get home that Saturday night. But it's a situation where when you cover this team, you don't just look at one. You don't look at one game and say, I can't wait for that one, because you get in a rhythm of home game, road game, couple road games, couple home games. And it's just something where when you're covering a specific team and you want to see growth and you want to see them build off of what they did the previous week or the previous month. But Carolina on January 4th, it sucks that it's the marquee home game and the students aren't there.
Yeah, I was just going to say the ACC schedule is pretty front loaded. They've got North Carolina and then they got Duke after that, and then they don't play either of those teams again.
No, and it's just, and that's what the ACC schedule is, because last year didn't they play Duke twice?
Mm-hmm.
They had Duke as a repeat opponent, Virginia as a repeat opponent. Now they only see those teams once this year, because you got to hold off for those great home games at the end of the slate with SMU, Stanford, and Cal.
Back to back too to close it out. Yeah, that is a bummer. I was really disappointed when I saw the Duke game. I was like, because it kind of felt like if that Duke game happened in mid-February, you're thinking the team's probably that's kind of around the time where they started to really come together last season. It just is like, man, if that's a home game, that could really set up to be a big defining moment. Instead, they're going to be playing in a not full, let's say, Purcell Pavilion, because you're right, all the students are going to be home on break. But last question on this year. I know this is difficult to answer, but give me your best guess at how you think this season plays out. Like, what are the major things we're going to be talking about when it's all said and done?
A win streak sometime January, February, the 4, 5, 6 games. Avoiding the slide to where one game losing streak turns into a 3 or 4 game league losing streak, and winning, like we talked about earlier in the pod, winning games that people don't expect Notre Dame to win, to where they kind of perk up around the country and be like, whoa, Notre Dame beat team A, B, or C, and they beat them here or they beat them there. Wasn't expecting that. If they can get on some sort of roll, I just think this team is so well coached and so well managed and put together to where it's not like, and I mean, again, you hate to compare what Micah Shrewsbury is doing than what Mike Bray did. Like with Mike Bray, it was always about the NCAA tournament. We got to get into the NCAA tournament. We got to get a bid. We got to get a bid. And they may talk about that privately, but anytime you ask Micah Shrewsbury or anybody around the program about the NCAA tournament, it's just, we've just got to get better every day. It's an awful answer, but with this program, it really is true, because like we talked about earlier, it's in such its developmental stage, its infancy of what it can eventually be, that we're not going to see that this year. We may not see it next year, maybe the following year after that, to where everybody talks about and says, that's what Notre Dame men's basketball should be. We'll see glimpses of it this year. We may not get there, but you know what? Either way, it's going to be a hell of a ride.
Yeah, I think for me, as long as this team is in the mix, if they're on the bubble in late January, early February, and they're playing meaningful basketball at that time of the year, like it's been so long since they have done that. So I think for me, that would basically be a success in my book. Now, obviously, there's different things with different players that you'd like to see, but I just want to watch some meaningful games late in the year. But the last question I have for you before we go, recruiting question, which is basically all we talked about the last time. 5-star Nate Ment, the 6'9" forward out of Virginia. He is the 4th-ranked player in the entire country. He is expected to visit Notre Dame when the Irish football team hosts Florida State next week. It seems impossible. If you had told me this a few months ago, I'd have been like, no chance he would ever pick Notre Dame. But they already have one 5-star in this class. What are the chances Shrewsbury is able to add another?
Don't count out Micah Shrewsbury as a recruiter. This was his stealth recruit from the start. He was always like, we're recruiting this guy, that guy, this guy over here. And by the way, I've got a secret, top secret stealth recruit that I'm not going to talk about, but we're going to get to visit on campus in November. I knew who it was, and it is Nate Ament. Don't put it past Micah Shrewsbury won't be able to kind of do what he's able to do and land him. I'm not going to say he's going to come to Notre Dame. And I'll also say don't expect a decision because all indications are Nate Ament is going to visit, but he may not sign during the early period in November. It may be a December or a January or February thing. But just the fact that Notre Dame is in the mix for a top 5 prospect, some people even say a top 3 prospect, again, that goes back to Micah Shrewsbury being like, I'm going to go get players. That's it. I'm going to get guys. And look at what he did in those 8 days in September and what he was able to get. So don't put it past the fact that Notre Dame may or may not add to this class. If they don't, they feel really good with what they have got, and they feel really good with where they're going with their 2026 class.
I think all Irish fans can hope for is that he's blown away by South Bend in early November when Notre Dame takes on a 1-7 Florida State Seminoles team. It's going to be an interesting weekend for sure. But that's all I have for you, Tom. You can read all of his work for the South Bend Tribune all season long and give him a follow on X at TNoieNDI. Thanks as always for your time, man. I had a lot of fun doing this. I always appreciate it. And best of luck this season. Like you said, it's going to be a wild ride.
You got it, brother. We'll keep in touch.
Today's episode is presented by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with America's #1 sportsbook because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. All right, here is my pick for the night. We've got Monday Night Football, and the Chiefs are favored by 9.5 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which admittedly is a lot. It's a lot of points, especially on Monday Night Football. But have you seen the injury report for Tampa Bay lately? No thanks. I'm going to take the Chiefs to cover -9.5 tonight on Monday Night Football, and that's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. That's a wrap for this episode. Thanks again for making Locked On Irish your first listen of the day. Tomorrow is Tuesday, which means Luke Smith is going to be on to talk about the weekend in college football, plus what we were most right and most wrong about this team going into this season. Should be a lot of fun, so make sure you tune in for that. Also, be sure to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you are listening to the podcast, and I'll see you tomorrow.